Hi, this is Mato. In this video, I will show the game between Vladimir Kramnik and Peter Svidler. This is the game from round 8 of the Candidates tournament that was played in London in 2013. Vladimir Kramnik had the white pieces and he started with d4. Peter Svidler played knight to f6, c4, g6, knight to c3, d5, Grunfeld defense. Peter Svidler is the expert in the Grunfeld defense. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, e4, knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, bishop to g7, knight to f3. Black first allows white to build a strong center, and then he attacks it. c5, bishop to e3, queen to a5, attacking the pawn on c3, queen to d2 defending, knight to c6, developing the knight and pressuring d4 pawn, rook to c1, moving the rook off the long diagonal and making it possible to play d5. Svidler captured the pawn on d4. Bishop to g4 is sometimes played, and sometimes e6. But pawn takes pawn move played in the game is the most popular move. C takes on d4. Queen takes queen, check. King takes queen. And we have queenless middle game. It looks like endgame, doesn't it? Svidler castled kingside. d5, attacking the knight. Rook to d8. Knight can't be taken. Pawn is pinned. It is white to move. King to e1 is the book move. This is the move that grandmasters play. But now we have a surprise. King to c2. Kramnik said that he analyzed this idea, king to c2, during the match with Kasparov. That match was played in London in year 2000. He analyzed this move, but never had a chance to use it against Kasparov. So now, after so many years, he is using it against Peter Svidler. It is black to move. Svidler played knight to e5. Commentators are saying that knight to a5 would be better move. Never mind. We have knight to e5. Knight takes knight. Bishop takes knight. Bishop to c4. Bishop to d7. f4. And now, not bishop to g7, but bishop to d6, giving more scope to the bishop. And now if pawn is pushed, what happens then? Then bishop to a3, attacking the rook. So Kramnik first played king to b3, and then he wants to play e5. Svidler played f6 to stop e5. a4. Rook from d to c8. h4. Kramnik wants to open h-file. Rook from a to b8. And there is no time for h5. Bishop to b5 was played. Let's have a look what will happen if h5 was played. If h5 was played, then we would probably have this continuation. b5. And after bishop takes on b5, rook takes rook. And after rook takes rook, a6. This doesn't look good for white, does it? So in the game, Kramnik played bishop to b5. Bishop takes bishop. Pawn takes bishop. a6. To take the pawn would be a mistake. b6. Keeping the file closed. King to f7. h5. Rook takes rook. And now in between move. Pawn takes pawn on g6. How would you capture the pawn? With king or with pawn? General rule says that you should capture with the pawn in position like this to avoid having too many pawn islands. Svidler captured the pawn with king. Bishop takes rook. And now rook to g8. General rule says that you should place the rook on the open file. We have a rook to g8. g4. h6. Rook to h5. Planning e5. King to f7. Threat is rook takes pawn on g4. e5. Attacking the bishop. Bishop to c5, attacking the pawn on b6. e6, check. King to f8. Not taking the pawn, but rook to h4. Planning f5 and winning the pawn on h6 with bishop. King to g7. f5. It is black to move. Rook to h8. Looks like a logical move. Svidler played rook to d8, attacking the pawn on d5. Bishop takes pawn on h6, check. King to g8. King to c4, defending the pawn on d5. Bishop takes pawn on b6. It is white to move and to play a winning move. What is the winning move in this position? What would you play? This is what Kramnik played. And now, if pawn takes pawn, then bishop takes on g5. e7 pawn is a big target. In the game, Svidler played bishop to f2, attacking the rook. Rook to g4. Threat is pawn takes pawn, check. King to h7. If pawn takes pawn now, then king takes bishop. It is white to move. What would you play in this position if you had white pieces? If you wish, you can pause this video and you can try to find the best move for white. Are you ready? Kramnik captured the pawn on f6. And Svidler recaptured with e-pawn. Why not? King takes bishop. Let's have a look. If king takes bishop, then pawn takes pawn on e7, attacking the rook. Rook to e8, d6, bishop to b6, f6, one or even two pawns will promote to queen. That is why Svidler captured the pawn on f6. e7 attacking the rook. Rook to c8 check. King to b3. Bishop to c5 attacking the pawn on e7. What would you play in this position if you had white pieces? In this position, Kramnik played a move and Svidler resigned. What is the move? This is what Kramnik played. Rook to c4 and Svidler resigned. If bishop takes pawn on e7, then rook takes rook. And white is winning. What else? If king takes bishop, is that good? Then rook takes bishop. And then if rook takes rook, e-pawn is promoting to queen. And if rook goes to e8, then d6, and after king to g5, d7, and pawn is promoting to queen. What else can black play? He can play b6. Is that good? How would white continue now? What do you think? What should white play in this position? Then rook takes bishop. And after pawn takes rook, then d6, and after king takes bishop, d7, then perhaps check, and after king to c3, king to g5, and one of the pawns is promoting to queen. That is why in this position Svidler resigned. Some people say that Kramnik played the endgame brilliantly. Other people are questioning why did Svidler make so many inaccurate moves, saying there is something not quite right with this game. Let's have a look at the inaccuracies that Svidler made. We'll go to move number 14. In this position, Svidler played knight to e5. People are saying that Svidler is the expert in the Grunfeld defense. Why he didn't play better move, knight to a5? Then we go to move number 25. We have this position. Svidler choosing inferior move, king takes pawn, instead of better one, pawn takes pawn. And then we go to move number 26. In this position, rook to g8, instead of rook to c8. And then finally at move 32. This is the position. In this position, Svidler played rook to d8, rook to h8 would perhaps offer more resistance. For example, rook to h3. This is how one line goes. And d6, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes on h6 check, king to g8, g5, bishop to d8, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, check, king to h7, bishop to g5, bishop takes bishop, rook takes bishop, and white should be better. Well, this is the exercise for you. Try to beat Talminator from this position as white. What do you think of this game? And that is all. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I wish you good luck with your chess, and bye for now.